I found them together, my worst nightmare. I confessed to the mirror, my reflection, as broken as my spirit. The two people I trusted most, laughing behind locked doors. Their treachery wasn't just personal, it was a brutal assault. How could you? I demanded. Yet their cold silence was the only answer. This is my journey from the ashes of betrayal. Enjoy watching it. September 19th, 1998. The barbecue was in full swing, with delicious food and plenty of drinks for those old enough to have them. A bunch of motorbikes were parked up in the dunes. It was the bike club's big end-of-season gathering, more a bunch of friends than a formal club. The beach was quiet as the lifeguards had left, and the tide was high, pushing everyone towards the dunes. Jeff, a tall man in his 40s with a thick beard, was the first to notice her. Something seemed off. She was dressed in a long denim skirt, a thick sweater, and an overcoat, odd attire for a warm autumn evening. She stood out starkly against others in swimsuits. Jeff approached and invited her to join them. As she looked up, Jeff saw signs of distress, messy hair, tired eyes. It reminded him of someone he'd seen recently. She declined his invite and walked away. His friends teased him about it, especially Lenny, who joked about Jeff trying to pick up a homeless lady. "She's not homeless, Lenny. Those are pricey clothes. She's just in trouble," Jeff defended her. Lenny, a big guy with a shaved head, was different from his usual stockbroker self when he was biking. He wore pinstripes by day and leathers by weekend. He managed Jeff's money, but they were more than just business partners. They were friends. "Forget about her, Jeff. Let's get you back to the party," Lenny said. At the party, Jeff had fun dancing and laughing with others, but he couldn't stop thinking about the woman. When the party ended and everyone had left, Jeff went to find her sitting alone on the sand, seemingly waiting for someone or something. As the tide lowered, she began walking into the water. Jeff remembered seeing that same look of despair in his own reflection 2 years ago. He ran after her, stripping off his clothes as he went. The water was already knee-high, soaking her heavy skirt. Jeff called out as he waded in, but she didn't seem to hear. As the waves hit harder, he dove in and swam to her, catching her just as she tried to go deeper. She screamed, struggling to break free. "I can't let you do this," Jeff shouted over the noise of the waves. "I want to die," she yelled back. "If we go further, we'll both drown. Is that what you want?" He turned her to face him. "I don't want to live. If you try to save me, it might kill us both," she said. Jeff begged her to come back to shore, and eventually she started to cry, realizing she didn't want to die either. Jeff hugged her tight, and they slowly made their way back to the beach. He gathered his clothes and helped her out of her soaked ones. "The wind's picking up. You'll freeze. Here, wear my clothes," he said, giving her his jeans and sweatshirt. She tried to change, and Jeff turned around to give her privacy. When he looked back, he couldn't help but laugh. The jeans were too big, and the sweatshirt sleeves covered her hands. "Sorry for laughing. Here, let's roll up the cuffs. I have some rope we can use as a belt," he said, still smiling. He kneeled in front of her and rolled up her jeans so they wouldn't drag on the ground. When he stood up, he smiled at her. "Now you've managed to work your way into my jeans. I think I deserve to know your name." "It's Helen McAllister." "Well, Helen McAllister. My name is Jeff Cockburn, and I'm glad to meet you. Let's find you a belt and leave this beach before it gets too chilly." They walked to where Jeff had found some rope, tied it around her jeans to fit better, and climbed into the truck. Jeff turned it around. "Jeff, why are you doing this?" "Because I need to. Because I owe someone." He might have said more, but he stopped when he saw something in the moonlight. A tall woman in a white swimsuit walked out of the water, pushing her long, dark hair away from her face. He tapped Helen's leg. "Do you see that?" He pointed toward the woman. "See what?" "I only see the waves and the sand." Jeff looked again. There was nothing there. He stayed quiet for a bit, then shook his head. "Jeff, are you okay?" "I'm fine," he replied, snapping back to reality. "You probably haven't eaten much today, right? Let's get some good fish and chips in Cornwall." They drove toward Padstow. Jeff occasionally glanced at Helen, trying to understand how she felt. He hoped being kind to her was the right thing to do. It seemed like she didn't really care about what was happening around her. "What do you mean you owe someone?" Someone helped me a long time ago. I can't pay them back, so I'm paying it forward. I'll tell you more about it later. Where are we going? To Padstow for fish and chips. They drove in silence until Jeff parked the truck. He hopped out, opened her door and said, "We're here." Helen looked confused. "I thought you said fish and chips. Isn't this a fancy restaurant run by that TV chef? It looks expensive. I can't go in like this. I don't even have shoes." They got lost on the beach. "Don't worry. It's just a chip shop. The fancy restaurant is across town. They know me here. Let's go in." Inside, the man behind the counter greeted them. "Hi, Jeff. Are the others coming tonight?" "Not tonight, Brian. It's just us two." "Sorry, Jeff. We closed half an hour ago." Jeff looked around the empty shop. "Brian, I can see you weren't busy. Could you make some cod and chips for her and a chip butty for me? I'll help clean up." Brian laughed. "You'll do the washing up? That would be a first. Want any drinks?" "A coffee for me and a hot chocolate for her." "All right, Jeff. Go sit down and I'll bring it over." They sat down and Jeff went to the restroom. When he returned, the food was on the table. He noticed a change in Helen's expression. Her eyes looked a bit more lively. "People here really think highly of you. Brian's a good friend, and even the waitress had nice things to say." "Waitress? The restaurant's closed." "The girl who cleaned the tables. Tall, dark hair, nice smile." Jeff looked around the empty place. "Point her out." "I can't. She's gone now, but she spoke well of you. Is something wrong? You look pale. The restaurant closed half an hour ago. All the staff have gone home except Brian. I can't explain it. I talked to her. When I mentioned I was with you, she said you were the nicest man she knew. It really happened. I'm not imagining it." "No, I believe you. It just reminds me of someone I once knew. But it couldn't be her." Jeff shook his head, then nodded at her plate. "Eat up. How do you like it?" Soon, Helen was asleep in the truck as they drove back to his place. She had enjoyed her meal, but couldn't finish it. Jeff didn't expect her to wake when they arrived. He carefully carried her into his house and into the guest bedroom. He took off her shoes and jacket, noticing her simple but lovely appearance. "She's really quite something," he thought. As she slept, he couldn't help but admire her peaceful face, so different from the troubled woman he met on the beach. "You're beautiful. Who could have hurt you so much?" Jeff covered her with the blanket and hung a bathrobe on the door. "Sweet dreams, fair princess," he whispered as he left the room. He locked up his truck and then sat down with a glass of wine. He wondered why she was so upset. It wasn't about money. Her clothes were clearly expensive. Her jacket reminded him of one he used to have. For a moment, he was back in Richmond, watching his old friend Jackie getting ready to go out. Jeff tried to clear his mind. He hadn't thought about Jackie in months. Now, with a new woman in his house, old memories were coming back. But they were just memories. He had moved on from the pain of being cheated on. His thoughts returned to Helen. He felt a warmth in his chest thinking about her. Whatever her troubles were, they could wait until morning. He washed and dried their clothes, then went to bed, reflecting on the day. Around midnight, his bedroom door opened. "Oh, I'm sorry, I was just checking. It wasn't a dream," Helen said, wearing the robe from her room. "Couldn't you sleep?" Jeff asked. "I woke up in a strange place and panicked. Did you undress me?" "Yes, but I didn't touch anything else. Your skirt's in the wash." "Oh, I see, thank you." Helen blushed. "I don't have anything clean to sleep in. I haven't worn pajamas since I was a kid. There are some long shirts in the wardrobe and t-shirts in the second drawer." Jeff heard the shower as he tried to sleep. Later, Helen climbed into bed with him. "Jeff, would you hold me, please? I really need someone to hold me," she sobbed in his arms. After she stopped crying, they fell asleep together. Thank God tomorrow's Sunday, Jeff thought. He woke up alone, showered, and went to the kitchen. He was surprised to find Helen making coffee and toast. "I was looking for something to iron my skirt," she said. Jeff got the iron for her. "Thank you. My skirt is too wrinkled to wear," she said. Jeff thought she looked great in his shirt. Her legs were long and her hair was wrapped in a towel. Her eyes were green and her young face was freckled. "Egg and bacon okay for you?" Jeff asked. She nodded and they ate quietly. As they ate, Helen kept looking into Jeff's eyes. She saw kindness and sadness. When he refilled their coffee, Jeff asked, "So, do you want to tell me about last night?" "I don't want to burden you. I should go," she replied. "It might be hard in just your skirt and underwear. I'll drive you wherever you need to go," Jeff said. He noticed a wedding ring on her finger. "Were you married? Do you want to call your husband?" At the mention of her husband, Helen started crying again. "So it's trouble with your husband. What happened?" "I don't have a husband anymore. He's divorcing me," she said, trying to calm her tears. "So that's what brought you here last night?" Jeff asked. "Partly. I usually help others. I run a team of accountants. But now, I'm struggling with my marriage ending." "There's nothing silly about feeling stressed. It's as hard as losing someone you love," Jeff reassured her. "Did you see any warning signs?" "No. We were trying for a family, but then he told me he loved someone else and left." "And since then?" Jeff asked. "I saw him with her. She's pregnant. It hurt to know I couldn't give him children." "So you felt unloved and worthless?" Jeff guessed. "I guess. Suddenly my life seemed pointless. But now I don't think I feel that way anymore." She squeezed his hands. "If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here today. Thank you. I'm still alive, and I owe it to us both to make the best of it. We have a busy day ahead. You need clothes, and you need to talk to Angie. Jeff, I lost my purse last night. I checked my coat pockets. It's not there. I think it fell out in the sea. Everything was in that purse. My driving license, credit cards, and all my cash. I don't have any money. You're a motorcycle mechanic, right? Can you loan me some cash?" "What makes you think I'm a mechanic?" "The dealer's name is on your truck. That's because I own the dealership. Don't worry about the money." "Who is Angie?" "The short blonde girl from the party last night. She's a top lawyer around here. She'll help you with your divorce. You might not want it, but it's going to happen. Angie can make sure you're okay. Is there anything else you haven't thought of?" "Yes. How I'm going to wear that shirt again without thinking of you in it. Go dry your hair, pick a clean shirt, and we'll go to Newquay to get you clothes and shoes." "Shoes? Your old ones are probably floating away by now." Helen almost smiled as she went to get ready. Newquay wasn't great for clothes shopping, especially on a Sunday, but they had no choice. During the drive, Helen looked closely at Jeff. His dark beard made him hard to age, but the gray in his hair suggested about 45. His strong, tanned arms showed he was often outdoors. She remembered feeling safe yet vulnerable in his arms. Why had she ended up in his bed? It was just the thin fabric of his shirt between them. He had been very respectful, comforting her as she cried. She wondered if she should feel offended when he turned away from her, but she felt relieved, snuggling against his back. By 2 p.m., they had found her shoes and some clothes. Sitting outside a cafe, they made plans. Jeff called Angie to arrange a visit. After a light lunch, he showed her around before heading to Angie's house. All the while, Helen watched Jeff. He wasn't just handsome. He had a confidence that came from not needing to prove anything. In the shops, he was treated well by the assistants. Why was such a man alone, with sadness in his eyes? They arrived at Angie's, and Jeff left the women to talk about the divorce while he and Angie's husband talked about motorcycles in the garden. After a while, a tearful Helen joined them, wanting to go home. The ride back was quiet. Jeff wondered if he had pushed her too much. "How did it go with Angie?" "She said the same as you. I can't stop the divorce. I have to get the best settlement possible. She even suggested I might try IVF if I find another partner, and a good settlement could help pay for that. She helped me see that it wasn't my fault my husband left me for another woman who could have children. He only found that out after he started cheating." Then Helen started to ask Jeff more personal questions. "Angie said if I wanted to know you better, I should ask about, well, art. That's a nickname. How did I get it? It started at the St. Paul's Carnival in Bristol. It's a big event and people come from all over, including London. This year, though, there was a rally by the National Front, and things got heated. Were you involved?" "Not really. But there are some things I can't walk away from. Let me tell you about Wellard. We were at a burger place when a young guy was attacked by some thugs. They were really hurting him, and no one else was doing anything, not even the police. I couldn't just watch. I used my bike to scatter them, but when they returned and one pulled a knife, I had to defend myself. I ended up using my helmet to knock him out." "And the police?" "They did nothing until it was over. Then they tried to arrest me, but Angie helped. She warned them that she'd be making an official complaint about their failure to act. That's how the day unfolded, full of unexpected turns and revealing moments, bringing them closer in unexpected ways. It turned out the man I had a conflict with had just been released from prison 2 days earlier. He had been in trouble before for hurting someone close to him and had just come out. "But why do they call you Wellard, Jeff?" Jeff smiled. "It's a funny story. The last time I was out riding, I helped someone and he called me Wellard, saying I was tough for an older guy. The nickname just stuck after everyone started chanting it at a big gathering. You're like a hero to everyone," she told him. "I'm just trying to do the right thing," Jeff replied. "Well, I'm glad you are. Meeting you here really helped me out," she said, resting her head on his shoulder. "Can I cook dinner for you tonight?" "Of course, if you want to." She was excited as she prepared the meal, often stealing glances at Jeff and feeling a rush of excitement each time. It had been a long time since she felt this way about anyone. She thought about how respectful he had been the previous night, doing nothing out of line, and wondered if he was interested in her. While making dessert, she decided it was time to regain control of her life, even if it meant being vulnerable again. That night, for the first time in 2 years, Jeff didn't cook. He watched her move around the kitchen, remembering how she looked the night before. What kind of person would leave such a lovely, beautiful woman? He wondered to himself. After dinner, as she served him coffee and kissed him, Jeff responded warmly, and they shared a passionate moment together. "Well, that answers one question," she joked afterwards. "Of course," Jeff replied, puzzled. "People always say you're a great guy, but you're alone. I was just curious. Are you happy now?" "I'm not sure. You were so respectful last night." "Maybe you just don't find me attractive," she said, looking for reassurance. The way he had kissed her seemed to say otherwise. She wanted to feel loved, especially by him. "If I had taken advantage of you last night, I would have lost your respect," Jeff explained. "As for finding you attractive, I think I've just shown that I do." She felt reassured by his words, but wondered if she should wait for him to make the first move. Deciding not to wait, she took a bold step. "Can I ask you for something important? Would you make love to me?" she asked softly, her long red hair falling across her face. Jeff was taken aback by her request. It had been a long time since he had been intimate with anyone. He paused, considering her request seriously. "Making love is very important to me," he said sincerely. "I don't want to do it just because someone feels obliged. It has to be about genuine care." Helen was quiet for a moment. "I'm not thanking you with this request," she clarified. "I asked because I truly admire you, and I know you care, or you wouldn't have helped me as you did. Please, Jeff, let's go upstairs," she pleaded, taking his hand. They went to his room, and he kissed her gently. "I've never kissed a man with a beard before. It's softer than I expected," she giggled. As they embraced, her breathing quickened with each kiss, and it was clear how much they cared for each other. They were intimate, and afterwards she snuggled close to him. "Can I stay here with you?" she asked. "You can stay as long as you want," Jeff replied as they shared another kiss. "I think I should shower," he suggested soon after. "Is there room for two?" she asked playfully, and they ended up showering together. They went back to bed, cuddled up, and fell asleep. Helen woke up first and looked at Jeff with love. Jeff woke up to her smiling. "Oh, good, you're awake. I thought I'd have to start the fun without you." "You were right. It was better." She leaned in and kissed him. "You were so good to me. I don't deserve how well you treat me. Do you think it's just you giving? You've just given me the best night of my life, and you think you should be grateful. Helen, you're a beautiful young woman who has been treated poorly. You deserve everything I can give you, and more." After another kiss, she got up. Jeff checked the clock and realized he would be late for work for the first time since he bought his business. He should have rushed, but he didn't. He wanted to spend more time with her. Over breakfast, they talked about their day. Jeff had to work, but Helen planned to visit the bank to get enough money to pay Jeff back. When Jeff came home that night, he found Helen upset. The bank wouldn't let her access her accounts without proper ID. Everything that identified her was in the purse she had lost. Jeff reassured her it was okay, but she wanted to handle things herself. I must go home, Jeff. I need to sort things out. I have a job. They'll wonder why I wasn't in today. I've canceled my cards, but they'll only send replacements to my home address. My passport is there too. Once I have that, I can prove who I am and access my money. She saw sadness in his eyes as she continued. I need another favor. Could you buy me a train ticket to Radlett? I'll pay you back as soon as I can access my accounts. The money isn't important, Helen. I don't want you to leave. I like having you here, and I love being here. Honestly, I think I'm falling in love with you. But I need to take control of my life. There's so much to do. I need to sort out my finances. Then there's all my stuff at home and my clothes. Douglas has moved out, so I'm going to sell the house. You see, Jeff? I've got a whole new life ahead of me. A life that I hope includes you. But first, I need to finish up my old life. This isn't the end, Jeff. It's more like a new beginning. If you really want this, you must understand what I want. If getting you back means losing you for a bit, then that's what I must do. That night, they were together again, and it felt even better than before. The next morning, Jeff drove her to the station with a heavy heart. They arrived as the London train was leaving, so they had to wait an hour for the next one. They went to the station cafe to wait. Jeff, when I asked why you helped me, you said you owed someone. It wasn't about money, was it? Can you tell me what it is you owe? The short answer? Her name is Vanessa Richardson, and I owe her my life. It's not something I can repay. You can't leave it at that. We have time. Tell me the story. Are you sure? It's a long one, and you might not like everything. Please, just tell me, Jeff. Okay, the story starts 2 years ago. I had my own software company. Maybe you've heard of it, Cockburn Software Solutions, or CSV PLC. I started it right out of college, and it took off. Everyone was buying PCs, and Windows made them easier to use. We made business software and accounting programs. We rode that wave and did well. When we went public, I made a lot of money. My wife Jackie and I kept 60% of the shares, and I effectively gained a business-savvy partner. Things went well for a while, but then I saw that demand for our products was dropping. Even Microsoft started making hardware. I knew we couldn't just keep going without a change, so I looked for new opportunities. We started making bespoke software for businesses and developing digital TV boxes. My partner Simon didn't like the idea, but Jackie and I had the majority of the shares, so we went ahead. I traveled around the country to drum up business. I should have noticed what was going on at home, but I was focused on the company. I thought I could keep building the company, not just for profit, but to have something to pass on to my son. But I didn't realize I was neglecting my family. Then, I landed a huge deal to develop software for TV boxes. I was thrilled and couldn't wait to share the news at home. I planned to take my family on a vacation, anywhere they wanted. But when I got home, I found Simon's car in the driveway, which was odd. Everyone seemed uneasy as they sat in the living room. Simon, Jackie, and my 17-year-old son Ian were all sitting together waiting for me. I thought Jackie would stand up to greet me, but she just sat there. I dropped my bag, clapped my hands, and with a big smile I announced, "I've done it! We're going to be part of the biggest revolution since the invention of TV. We might get to make 20 million digital TV boxes. Guess who got the contract to develop the software?" Nobody moved or spoke. "Don't you get it? This could bring in millions," I exclaimed. Finally, Simon spoke. "Sit down, Jeff." I sat, confused, and asked, "What's going on? You should be happy. This deal secures our company's future." "It's not happening, Jeff. We've shut down the development section and laid off the staff. We can't afford it." "We're sticking to what we know," Simon explained. "What do you mean? Who decided this?" I asked, frustrated. "You might not have noticed, but I'm the majority shareholder. Jackie and I control the company. I'm the CEO," I protested. I noticed Jackie subtly squeezing Simon's hand, a sign of support between couples. "That's what we need to talk about. We had an emergency shareholders meeting yesterday and voted you off the board. We can't afford your risky projects," Simon continued. "This isn't about you and Jackie, is it?" I guessed, noticing their hand movement. "No, it's strictly business," Simon replied. Jackie finally spoke. "Jeff, your spending was out of control. We had to stop you for everyone's sake." "Really, Jackie? And where were you when he told you this? In my bed or his?" I asked sharply. She looked down and handed me an envelope. It was from a lawyer telling me Jackie had filed for divorce due to irreconcilable differences. I won't ruin you, Jeff. You were a good husband, but it's over. I hope we can still be friends, Jackie said. Friends? After you take my company and sleep with my rival, you expect to stay friends? I was incredulous. We still have Ian to think about, she added. I'm leaving with Simon tonight. Think it over, Jackie said as they prepared to leave. In shock, I asked Ian, what's your role in all this? I'm moving in with Mom and Simon, Ian replied. So he's taken my company, my wife, and now my son. What did you expect, Dad? You always had money but made me go to a local school instead of paying for a better one, Ian complained. That school made you who you are today. You even got a scholarship later because of it, I argued. No, Dad, she paid my fees because you wouldn't, Ian corrected. So you traded me for school fees and a new car. I was heartbroken. Simon tried to calm things down, but I couldn't contain my anger. I hit him. It's personal now, I told him as Jackie helped him up. Are you planning to marry him? I asked. Yes, after the divorce, Jackie confirmed. Just remember, when a man marries his mistress, it often leads to trouble, I warned them as they left. I closed the door behind them, feeling completely empty. I used to love my life, my home, and everything in it, but now it felt hollow. I walked around the house, reminiscing about better times. As night turned to morning, I felt lost, hearing the distant ring of the telephone, but unable to think of a time when I was happy without Jackie. I remember those holiday trips to Cornwall in the caravan with Mom and Dad. They're gone now, but the happiness I felt there still pulls at my heart. I had to go back. So I walked out of the house to the beach where I had played as a child and where I met you. I didn't know why I was there. It didn't make me happy. Instead, it made me miss my parents even more and reminded me of how alone I felt. The tide was low, and I walked towards the ocean. The waves crashed against me as I walked into the water. It felt right to be there, in a place full of happy memories, even though my life felt empty. I walked further, and suddenly she was there in front of me, standing in the sea. She was tall, with long, dark hair, and wore a white swimsuit. She looked at me and said, "This is not the way, Jeff. Turn around and let's go back." "Why? What's the point? There's no reason to go back." "There's always a reason to live. You have things to do and people to meet." "What are you talking about? And how do you know my name?" "I'm talking about you. It's not your time. If you go further, I'll have to save you. Come with me." She offered her hand. "Who are you? Do I know you?" "My name is Vanessa. You don't know me, but I know all about you. Please come with me." I took her hand and followed her. She led me gracefully out of the water and up the beach to a wooden house in the dunes, almost like an old bungalow with a porch facing the sea. Inside, she left me in the hallway. She returned with a towel and said, "The bathroom's through there. Why don't you take a shower?" I found the bathroom and was still dazed as she helped me with my clothes and started the shower for me. I just stood under the water. When she joined me in the shower, I was surprised but felt nothing, as if I was numb. She washed my hair and hugged me, saying, "You're in shock, but don't worry. I can help. You look like you haven't slept in days." She then led me naked to a bedroom and tucked me into bed. I woke up later thinking it was dark outside and Jackie was with me. I thought it was a terrible dream. Oh, Jackie, I had the worst dream. I touched her, but something felt wrong. I looked for the lamp, but it wasn't there. "What's going on, Jack? Where are we?" The light turned on and I looked into her eyes and everything came back. "Oh God, it wasn't a dream, was it?" Vanessa held my chin and kissed me. "No, Jeff, it wasn't a dream, but it doesn't have to be as bad as you think. Look at me. Don't you like what you see?" "Yes, you're beautiful. Any man would feel lucky to wake up with you. But you're not the woman I love. Do you still love her?" "I don't know. She obviously doesn't love me." "Don't be too hard on her or yourself, Jeff. You know why he seduced her. The question is, do you want her back?" "I don't think so. She chose him over me. I'd always feel like second best." She kissed me. "Never think of yourself as second best, Jeff." "What do you mean, wait another day?" "It's 2 a.m. You've been asleep for 30 hours. It's been a long time for me. When I'm in bed with a handsome man, I get excited." Vanessa hugged me tightly and kissed me passionately. I pulled back. I'm sorry, Vanessa. Can we slow down? I'm not ready for this. She smiled and kissed my forehead. So that's not a no then? It's a not now. I need to use the bathroom. When I came back, Vanessa was asleep or pretending to be. I spooned into her and slept fitfully, waking at 7 a.m. to the smell of coffee. I sat up in bed. The door was open, and I could see Vanessa passing by in a silk robe. She came back with 2 cups of coffee. Jeff hesitated, unsure how much to tell her about his time with Vanessa. Memories of Vanessa returned as she placed the coffee on the nightstand and turned, her robe falling open slightly. She kissed me softly. "That was a pleasant surprise," she whispered. "Your wife was very lucky. She thinks she still is. She has a new lover now. I know all about it, Jeff. And I'm telling you, it's her loss." How could she know? Simon, Jackie, and my 17-year-old son Ian were waiting for me when I got home. I expected Jackie to greet me, but she just sat there. Excitedly, I dropped my bag and shared my big news with a smile. "I've pulled it off! We're going to revolutionize the TV world with 20 million set-top boxes." Nobody reacted. "Don't you see? This is worth millions!" I exclaimed. Simon was the first to speak. "Sit down, Jeff." Confused, I sat and asked, "What's wrong? This is great news for our company." "It's not happening, Jeff. We've shut down the development section and let go of the staff. We're sticking to our basics," Simon explained. "Why? Who authorized this?" I demanded. "It seems you missed it, but Jackie and I have the majority control. I'm still the CEO," I argued. I noticed Jackie squeezing Simon's hand, a gesture of mutual support. "That's what this meeting is about. We had an emergency meeting yesterday and voted you off the board. Your big projects are too risky," Simon continued. "This isn't about your affair with Jackie, is it?" I asked, seeing their hand movement. "It's just business," Simon insisted. Jackie finally spoke up. "Your spending was out of control. We had to intervene for the good of the company." "Oh, really, Jackie? And where did Simon convince you of that? In our bed or his?" I challenged. She looked away and handed me an envelope. It was a letter from a lawyer. Jackie was divorcing me. "You've been good, but it's over. I hope we can be friends," she said. "Friends? You take my company, betray me, and want friendship?" I was shocked. "We still have Ian to consider," she added. "I'm leaving with Simon tonight. Maybe you'll see things differently later," she concluded. Stunned, I turned to Ian. "What's your role in this?" "I'm moving with Mom," Ian said. "So he's taken my company, my wife, and now my son?" I asked. "Dad, you never really shared your wealth. I had to go to a basic school while you could afford better," Ian complained. "That school made you who you are. You even got a scholarship later," I defended. "No, Dad. Jackie paid my fees," Ian corrected me. "So you're trading me for tuition and a car?" I was heartbroken. Simon tried to smooth things over, but I was too angry. In a moment of anger, I struck Simon. "It's personal now," I told him as Jackie helped him up. "Are you planning to marry him?" "Yes, after the divorce," Jackie said. "Just remember, when a man marries his mistress, it often leads to more trouble," I warned. They left, and I was alone, feeling empty. My life had been about my family and my business. Now everything was gone. People often reach for a drink in such times, but I didn't. I was too upset. I wandered around my house, recalling happier times. The night passed and dawn came, but I felt nothing. The phone rang distantly. I listened to my messages. Most were trivial until one from my secretary asking me to call her. There were more empty messages, then one from Jackie sounding worried, and another from my lawyer needing to talk about Jackie's visit. More messages from my secretary, then the bank called, desperate to speak with me. Jackie's message came again, saying she still loved me and was worried. She still loved me, she said, but not enough to avoid betraying me. That was one call I decided not to return. I called my lawyer, Stuart Mackenzie, a trusted friend and business advisor. I wasn't surprised Jackie had sought his advice, but I guessed he hadn't supported her against me. He sounded relieved when I called him. "Jeff, it's good to hear your voice. How are you?" "I'm fine, Stuart. I took a few days off to clear my head, but I'm okay. What's the issue?" Stuart sounded worried. "Jackie came in with a guy named Hamilton. They said you were no longer CEO and wanted access to all company files. I didn't let them because I hadn't heard from you about it." "Is all this true, Jeff? Have you been voted out? And are you really getting a divorce?" "I'm afraid it's all true, Stuart. I've been busy too. When I couldn't reach you and they told me what was happening, I froze all your bank accounts. You'll need to come by and sign some papers. That Hamilton guy claims you promised him first dibs on your shares at the original price. I told him I needed that in writing. Are you planning to sell? I think I might, Stuart. But if he wants them, he'll have to pay a lot. I'll come by tomorrow and we can talk then. I hung up after saying goodbye and called Janet next. The operator connected me and Janet sounded so relieved. "Oh, Mr. Cockburn, thank goodness you're okay. I've been so worried." "I'm fine, Janet. Really, I am. What's been going on?" "I found out they fired you, and I wanted to quit right away. But I need the job for my family. Mr. Hamilton has taken over your office. I had to pack up your personal things, and I didn't know what to do with them. Just throw them out, Janet. There's nothing from that office I want." "Are you sure, sir?" "What about your family photos?" "Put it all in the trash, Janet. That's where it belongs." "So, the rumors about Mr. Hamilton and Jackie are true then?" "Yes, they're true. I'm sorry, Janet. I can't stay here. I need to find another job." "Don't rush into anything. If you need a reference, I'll say you were the best secretary I ever had." "Oh, sir, I'm going to miss you so much." I could hear her crying. "Janet, would you like to have lunch with me tomorrow? I can pick you up. We can have lunch and then I'll give you my car." "I'd love to, sir, but you don't need to worry about the car. They said you were keeping it." "I don't want it, Janet, but I do want to say goodbye properly, so I'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. "Okay, sir, I'll be there." Janet was always loyal, never calling me by my first name, always Mr. Cockburn or Sir. I called a few contacts to find job openings for her, then called the bank to sort out some issues. For the first time since everything blew up, I slept in my own bed and actually slept well. The next morning I met with Stuart Mackenzie. I signed the papers to clear him for freezing my accounts and got him to lift the freeze. He recommended a divorce lawyer to protect my interests. He was clear that with Simon in charge, he'd be working solely for me. We made a plan, and he agreed to handle it all. Lunch with Janet was emotional. I gave her job leads and told her to arrange interviews. After lunch, I gave her a big bouquet, which made her tear up again. I handed her the car keys, then headed to the bank. Jackie and I had separate accounts but shared one for household expenses. I moved half the money from the joint account to my own and gave up my card for the joint account. Then I went to a charity shop to donate furniture and to an estate agent to list the house for sale. I got home to a flashing answering machine. It was Jackie. "Jeff, are you there? Speak to me. I know you're back. I had to find out from your secretary." I started moving out, taking only my desk chair and my mom's old dresser. I stored my belongings and waited for the locksmith and charity shop guys. They were surprised by the quality of the furniture. "This will sell well," one said. "Thank my wife," I replied. "She's why it all has to go." I shook his hand and watched them drive away with my old life. Then I took a taxi to a hotel, stopping at the estate agents to drop off the keys. I bought a mobile phone and boarded a train the next day to start anew. I wasn't sure what my life would be like, but I knew I'd be living in Cornwall, near a particular beach. I planned to stay in touch just in case my old colleagues wanted to contact me. I only paid for a short period of phone service, not expecting many calls. Yet soon after boarding the train, my phone rang unexpectedly. It was Jackie, sounding frantic. "Jeff, if you're there, please talk to me. I visited our house today, but my keys no longer work. It looks empty. I hope you've transferred the phone number to your new place. Where are you, Jeff? I need to talk. I think I've made a huge mistake." I paused, wondering if talking to her would change anything. She had ended our marriage and betrayed me at work. Now she regretted her actions, but could she fix the damage? I doubted it. Without a word, I hung up and turned off my phone. Within days, I settled into a furnished apartment in Newquay. Stuart Mackenzie, my lawyer, told me he'd found a broker as I had instructed. A small portion of my company shares would be sold. If Hamilton wanted them, he'd have to pay the market price. I instructed the broker to sell my shares gradually to maintain their value. Stuart mentioned that Simon had tried to make an offer for my shares, but I ignored it. After moving to Newquay, I visited the beach where I'd met Vanessa but didn't recognize anyone. I searched the dunes for the house but found nothing until I stumbled upon a concrete base. A local walking his dog approached. "You lost?" he asked. "Not really, just searching for something I thought was here." I replied. What are you looking for? He asked. A large wooden house, I said. The old Richardson house? It was here, but the council demolished it a year ago after a fire, he explained. Shocked, I said, It can't be. I'm talking about a house where a young woman lived. She was beautiful and about 35. That's her. She and her husband lived here. Sadly, he lost everything in the stock market and walked into the sea. She disappeared trying to find him, the old man recounted. But that can't be. I was in that house just last week, I protested. You must be mistaken. This is the only house that was here, he insisted. Baffled, I visited the local newspaper office to research the couple. I quickly found an article about the man's death and his wife's disappearance. There was a photo of Vanessa, exactly as I remembered her. Back in my flat, I looked over my financial statements, searching for clues about those lost days. Finding nothing, I eventually gave up. Despite knowing Vanessa wasn't coming back, I felt drawn to the beach. She had said that's where I'd find her if she returned. Moved by nostalgia, I bought a house and took over a struggling motorcycle dealership, rekindling an old passion. I spent much of my time on the beach. Helen, my companion, asked, Did you ever see her again? No, I replied. Not until the night I met you. I thought I saw her in the surf just as we were leaving, but then she was gone. Did you love her, Jeff? No, I don't think so. I liked her a lot and she was very beautiful, but really I felt like I owed her something. She helped me so much in those few days, I would have done anything to repay her. Do you have her photo? Jeff pulled out his wallet and showed me a picture he got from a newspaper. Helen's face went pale when she saw it. I've seen her, Jeff, twice. Once as a waitress in the fish and chip shop, and then again when we went clothes shopping. She was in the changing room. She told me what a good man you are. Do you think she's watching over us? Maybe she didn't lead me to you, but she made sure you were there when I needed you. They announced Helen's train was about to arrive. They walked to the platform and kissed like teenagers. Helen, are you really coming back? You bet. I need to sort things out. I don't know how long it will take, but I'll come back as soon as I can. And you, Jeff? You won't disappear like Vanessa, will you? No, I'll be here. I'll wait as long as it takes. He kissed her one last time as she boarded the train. A tear rolled down his cheek as the train doors closed and it started to move. He waved until he couldn't see her anymore. Then he went back to his car and drove to work. It was August 2nd, 2003. Jeff was taking care of his motorcycle, a Vincent Black Shadow, which shone in the sunlight. He loved the smell of the polish. Just then, he noticed a taxi pull up. He didn't look up, knowing who it would be. She had been asking about him, and it was only a matter of time before she showed up. She waited for him to notice her. Jeff kept polishing his bike. It's been a long time, Jeff. You're looking good. He finally stood up and saw that the years hadn't been kind to her. She had gained some weight and looked different. You're not looking so bad yourself, Jack. No need to flatter me. I know how I look. Why are you here? Was the divorce settlement not enough? I gave you a lot from the house sale and you kept your shares. It's not about that, Jeff. You were fair. But can we talk inside? Inside, she glanced around his home. This is a nice place, Jeff. A big garden. Is it 3 bedrooms? Just 3. But you didn't come here to talk about my house. What do you want? As Jeff made coffee, she hesitated. I want you back, Jeff. Jeff was shocked. You're joking, she laughed. No, not back with me, though I'd want that if it could work. But I've ruined that chance. I realized too late what I really wanted. How's Ian doing with Simon? I tried to stop him, but he's an adult. He's changed his name and looks up to Simon. He's had enough time to figure things out. And you? Did things work out with C? When a man marries his mistress, it leaves a vacancy, just like you said. He filled that spot within a year, and I still loved you. Why did you do it, Jack? I don't know. He was persuasive, but that's no excuse. I caught him cheating, and that was that. So, are you seeing anyone now? There have been a few, but nothing serious. You were always the one for me, Jeff. I never stopped seeing you as the perfect wife. I didn't need anyone else. But it's too late now, isn't it? Yes, it's too late. So this visit isn't about us getting back together. What's it about? We want you back at the company. The board and the bank agree. The company is struggling, just like you predicted. The bank won't lend us any more money unless we come up with a solid plan to branch out into new areas. We've tried, but our clients aren't convinced we can do it. We need someone with a strong reputation, Jeff. We need you, they told me. What about Simon? I asked. He's okay with it, but even if he wasn't, it wouldn't matter. He only has 30% of the company since the divorce. I've got 35%. The rest of the board and the bank are on my side. I've even brought a contract with me. Jeff got up, made coffee, and brought 2 cups back to the table. He sat down, took a sip, and looked at Jackie. Why do you think I'd want to come back? I'm happy here. I have friends and a life I enjoy. Oh, come on, Jeff. You can't seriously be happy just running a motorcycle shop, Jackie argued. Just then, a Toyota MPV pulled up. A slim redhead with 2 young copper-haired children got out and headed towards the door. Expecting visitors? Jackie asked. No, Jeff replied, opening the door. The children ran in and hugged him. Daddy, why didn't you swim with us today? The little boy asked. I had a visitor from London, Jeff explained. Is she here now? The little girl inquired. Yes, she's at the table, Jeff replied, standing up to hug the young woman and greet her with a kiss. Jackie felt a stab of jealousy. We missed you at the pool, the woman said, wrapping her arm around him. Jackie, this is Helen. Helen, this is Jackie, my ex-wife. And these kids are Daniel and Vanessa. Jeff introduced them. This is the lady Daddy was married to before he met Mommy, he explained to the children. It's nice to meet you. I owe you so much, Helen said to Jackie, hugging her. Puzzled, Jackie asked, What do you owe me? Isn't it obvious? Him, these kids, my life. If it weren't for you, none of this would have happened. Well, Helen, you're making me feel terrible, Jackie responded. You know how it is, Jackie. Once bitten, twice shy, Jeff added. Jeff, did you expect me today? Jackie inquired. After you booked your taxi, someone told me you'd be coming. Like I said, I have real friends here, Jeff said. So, what's the real reason you're here? Jeff pressed. I want you back at the company. The company is in trouble, Jackie admitted. We've received an all-or-nothing offer to buy us out. I own 35%, you own 30%, and 4 others own the rest. They all want to sell. Even the bank wants us to sell to clear our debts. Sell it, Jackie. Let it go and move on, Jeff advised. But that company is all I have left of our old life. I don't want to lose it, Jackie insisted. Take the offer, Jackie. Let the past go. They're not taking on our debts, and after settling with the bank, you'll have less than $100,000 left, Jeff suggested. Please, Jeff, come back and help us rebuild. You've done it before, Jackie pleaded. Take the offer, Jackie. I'm happy here. I like my life now. Yes, I could do more than sell motorcycles, but I choose this life, Jeff stated firmly. Helen returned to the room. Jackie, would you like to join us for lunch? Jeff can drive you back to town later. Jackie realized she was wasting her time. No, thank you, I must be going. She declined and called a taxi. As soon as Jackie left, Helen walked up to Jeff, kissed him, and teased. You're a very naughty man, Jeff Cockburn. She doesn't know, does she? And you're not going to tell her, are you? Jeff confirmed with a grin. As the employees gathered for lunch in the company, they noticed the slim redhead standing confidently beside Jeff. Helen began, Ladies and gentlemen, I have good news. As of this morning, our financial uncertainties are resolved. The company has been bought by our data services division, she announced, pausing as murmurs spread through the room. ART is a company we built over the last 6 years to meet the growing need for online data storage envisioned by our founder. We operate 2 large server farms, one in Reading and one in Edinburgh, primarily serving businesses that want to safeguard their data from disasters. We acquired CSSS to enhance our services by offering custom online programs. This acquisition won't be profitable right away, so we need to free up some assets. As part of this plan, we are selling this building and moving to Truro. No way! Someone shouted from the crowd. Excuse me, sir. You are Ian Hamilton, the project manager. It seems you're not willing to move to a remote place. You can take it up with the board if you like. Jeff stood up. What kind of programming do you do, Mr. Hamilton? Ian recognized the voice, and the bearded man looked familiar. I don't write code. I'm a project manager. Well, Mr. Hamilton, our project managers also write code. So, unfortunately, you won't be invited to move with us to Truro. As for the board, you just spoke to it. I own Wellard, and now I own CSS again. I am the board, Mr. Hamilton. We are moving to Truro, and the sale of the London properties will cover our costs for a while. Please visit Human Resources after this meeting to learn about your severance package. Ian realized who he was dealing with and left the room. Jeff continued, "If anyone else feels like my son and wants to leave, you're free to do so. We hope most of you will join us in Truro, and we're offering a generous relocation package, as Miss McAllister mentioned. We'll also be selling the company-owned flats. We're bringing in our own management team. You've met Miss McAllister, our chief accountant. Those of you who've been with us for over 7 years might recognize some old faces returning. Mr. Simon Hamilton and Mr. Cockburn are no longer with the company. I'll be meeting with department heads this afternoon to discuss our future plans. If you have any questions, Miss McAllister will be available." Jeff left the meeting and went to his old office, where he found Simon Hamilton. "Good morning, Simon. Packing up? Well, I'd like you to leave the office and the premises." There was a knock, and Jeff's former secretary, Janet, passed a box to Simon for his things. Simon thought he'd be costly to fire due to his contract. "You should have read the sale agreement. The previous owners are responsible for senior management contracts, so you'd be suing yourself." "What about the money from the sale?" Simon asked. "I owe a lot on my house after buying shares." "You'll find another job soon," Jeff reassured him. Simon gathered his belongings and left, hesitating before shaking Jeff's offered hand, remembering past conflicts. Janet knocked and entered. "It's great to see you back, Mr. Cockburn." "Thank you, Janet. I heard you were offered more to stay at your last job." "Yes, but I wanted to work for you. We're ready to move to Cornwall, and my husband already found a job there." "Janet, after all these years, can't you call me Jeff?" "I couldn't, Mr. Cockburn. Anything else I can do for you?" "Not now, Janet. Enjoy an early lunch." She left, but soon returned. "Miss McAllister is here to see you." "Send her in, Janet." Helen walked in with a smile. "Jackie was right. Your secretary really likes you. She's great at her job, though." "Looks like you're my boss now," Helen joked, playing along with their light-hearted banter about office dynamics. Jeff grinned as he playfully teased, "Whatever you say, you're the boss. Now, Miss McAllister, have you learned anything from your mistake?" "Oh, I have, sir," she replied with a sigh. "I've learned that I should probably make more mistakes." "And what would your husband think of that?" Jeff asked. "I don't have a husband, sir. My partner was too hurt by his past to try again," she answered. Jeff shook his head. "The man's a fool. Why don't you marry me?" he suggested. "But what about my children, sir?" she asked cautiously. Jeff leaned back in his chair, took her hand, and said warmly, "I'll adopt them." He pulled her closer. "In that case, sir, the answer is yes." They both laughed at their playful exchange and then shared a kiss. Their moment was interrupted by the door opening. A tall, stylish woman stood in the doorway, her hair neatly pulled back into a ponytail, wearing a sleek black suit. She smiled at them and blew a kiss before leaving. "Vanessa," they both said at the same time. The woman's smile lingered, then she left. They turned to each other. "That was her, wasn't it, Jeff?" she asked. He nodded. "You saw her too. She was real. I didn't just imagine her." "If she wasn't real, we both had the same dream," he replied. "It seemed like she was saying goodbye. Maybe she thinks we don't need her anymore." "Now I'll have to be your guardian angel," she smiled. "Only if you let me be yours for the rest of our lives," he responded. "It's a deal," she said, and they sealed their promise with a kiss. Thanks for listening to One Infidelity Hit. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop us a like.